Young Sheldon offers fans of The Big Bang Theory a charming glimpse into the early life of Sheldon Cooper, the socially awkward, brilliant theoretical physicist with a penchant for trains, contracts, and just the right seat on the couch. Among the many memorable characters introduced in Young Sheldon is Dr. John Sturgis, a quirky and lovable physics professor who becomes a mentor and even something of a kindred spirit to the young prodigy. Yet despite his formative role in Sheldon's youth, John Sturgis is conspicuously absent from The Big Bang Theory. Not once is he mentioned across 12 seasons of the original series. Why would someone so integral to Sheldon's upbringing disappear entirely from his adult life? Let's dive into a blend of theory, character psychology, and a dash of creative storytelling to explore why John Sturgis may have vanished from Sheldon's later years. 1. The influence that fades. Not all mentors are destined to remain forever. In real life, people often have formative teachers or guides during childhood who shape their lives but quietly fade into the background as time goes on. Dr. Sturgis was, in many ways, the first adult who truly understood Sheldon. They shared a passion for theoretical physics and a childlike curiosity about the universe. But Sheldon's mind, always expanding and reaching further, may have eventually outgrown the academic environment of East Texas. As Sheldon aged and moved on, first to Caltech and then into the world of professional research, his relationship with Dr. Sturgis may have become more symbolic than ongoing. In short, Sturgis may have been the caterpillar that helped Sheldon become a butterfly. And butterflies rarely look back. 2. The emotional elephant. Mental health and memory. Dr. Sturgis, portrayed with great tenderness by Wallace Shawn, also struggles with mental health issues throughout Young Sheldon. His breakdown and time spent in a psychiatric facility highlight the delicate balance he maintains between genius and vulnerability. It's possible that in Sheldon's mind, which prioritizes logic, compartmentalization, and order, the memory of Dr. Sturgis is filed away in a category too emotionally complex to revisit. Sheldon, especially in the earlier seasons of The Big Bang Theory, is emotionally guarded and averse to discussing difficult topics, especially those related to mental illness or personal discomfort. His silence about John Sturgis could be a form of psychological self-preservation. Alternatively, it's possible that something tragic happened to Dr. Sturgis, either passing away when Sheldon was still relatively young or retreating from the public and academic world due to his mental health. In either case, Sheldon may have chosen not to speak of him, not out of disrespect, but out of quiet reverence. 3. Narrative timing and retcon realities. On a meta level, the simplest answer is that John Sturgis didn't exist until he had to. When The Big Bang Theory began in 2007, the writers had little reason to flesh out Sheldon's early life. While we heard about his Meemaw, his twin sister Missy, and his father George Sr., the characters from his formative academic life were left blank. It wasn't until Young Sheldon was created a decade later that the writers had the chance, and creative freedom, to populate Sheldon's childhood with new influences like Dr. Sturgis. So, in many ways, John Sturgis is a beautiful narrative retcon, a character retroactively inserted into Sheldon's past to enrich his backstory. But retroactive storytelling comes at a cost. It risks continuity gaps, especially when the future, The Big Bang Theory, is already set in stone. 4. The tragic genius hypothesis. Here's where we shift into creative speculation. What if Dr. Sturgis's absence is not just an oversight or a fading influence, but the result of a deeper tragedy? Imagine this. John Sturgis, having dedicated his life to physics and academia, watches as his protege surpasses him in both recognition and stability. While proud, a part of him feels eclipsed, left behind by a boy he once guided. As Sheldon moves on to Caltech, publishing papers and winning acclaim, Sturgis quietly fades into academic obscurity. Perhaps his mental health declines. Perhaps he retires early, lost in thought experiments no one else understands. And one day, Sheldon receives the news. Dr. Sturgis has passed away, alone but still surrounded by equations scrawled across the walls of his modest apartment. But instead of mourning publicly, Sheldon internalizes the loss. He buries it under layers of science, sarcasm, and structure. He never speaks of John Sturgis again, not because he forgot him, but because remembering hurt too much. 5. The passing torch. Meemaw, not Sturgis. Another angle. Young Sheldon suggests that while Dr. Sturgis plays a vital academic role, it's Sheldon's Meemaw who remains his true emotional anchor. Meemaw supports Sheldon in a way that blends warmth and wit, guiding him not just as a genius, but as a person. Over time, perhaps Meemaw becomes the bridge between Sheldon's East Texas past and his California future. When she visits in the final season of The Big Bang Theory, it's clear she remained close to Sheldon throughout his life, even if off-screen. In contrast, Sturgis may have represented a fleeting phase, a bridge between childhood wonder and the cold reality of academia. Once crossed, Sheldon may have never looked back. 6. A fictional reconciliation. What if? Let's imagine an alternate scene, an unaired episode that never made it to our screens. In the final season of The Big Bang Theory, just after Sheldon wins the Nobel Prize, he receives a letter. It's postmarked from a care facility in Houston. It's from Dr. John Sturgis. The handwriting is shaky, but the sentiment is clear. Dear Sheldon, congratulations. I always knew you'd win it. You saw the universe with clearer eyes than I ever did. Your old friend, John. Sheldon reads it in silence. He doesn't cry. He simply folds the letter, places it in his desk drawer, and says softly, "Thank you, Dr. Sturgis." He never tells anyone about the letter. But when he gives his Nobel acceptance speech, there's a moment where he looks up at the ceiling and says, "And to the first person who treated me like more than just a brain in a boy's body, thank you." Final thoughts. Dr. John Sturgis may never have appeared in The Big Bang Theory, but his legacy lives on through young Sheldon. He represents the brilliant, eccentric mentors that shape our lives, even if we don't talk about them later. Perhaps Sheldon's silence on Sturgis isn't absence, but reverence. In the vast constellation of influences that shaped him, Dr. Sturgis is a quiet star, unseen by most, but always shining in Sheldon's sky. Would you like this adapted into a blog post format or something more narrative-focused, e.g. short story style?